It was the start of a typical day at Liberty Middle School. But 10 minutes after school announcements, a number of students fall victim to the gunman, and the principal is shot dead outside his office.
This is Liberty Middle School. There's a shooter in the building.
All right, okay. What does he look like? Where is he?
I don't know. I just heard gunshots.
All right, we're sending somebody right now.
There's an active shooter in the building now. Get into lockdown now. This is not the drill. I repeat, there is an active shooter in the building.
Get into a lockdown now.
She shot really bad. Please send someone.
What appeared to be just another school day is actually the start of a critical incident drill.
This drill came to be as an idea. Basically, the Board of Education, every single year we do lockdown drills with them, and myself and Sergeant Morella, after coming out of those lockdown drills, threw a what if out there. What if we, as a police agency, had to respond to an event like this?
Sergeant John Morella came to me and wanted to expand our current active shooter program and to determine how long it would take other entities to get into West Orange to back us up rather than a staged scenario. I gave him the green light for that, and the thing kind of took on a life of its own.
What ended up happening was that a couple months later, we went to a stakeholders meeting up in Picatinny Arsenal, and while we were up there, they were talking about how they wanted to get together with police departments and start teaching their training to us that they've learned out in Afghanistan and overseas. And when they heard what we were doing, they automatically fell in love with it.
And we realized that the lessons we have on the Department of Defense side could be applied to law enforcement. As we started to work with law enforcement, we realized, in addition to the technology, they also need the training that the military is so readily available to the military.
Months of planning for this drill led to this very moment when first responders arrive on the scene. For the safety of all the volunteers in this drill, before any of the officers can enter the premises, they must disarm their live weapons, get equipped with the staged weapons and cameras, and be briefed quickly on the nature of this drill. The first unit of responders approaches the main entrance of the building and begins their mission to isolate the threat. Outside, parents begin to arrive on the scene after receiving phone calls from loved ones inside.
What does that mean?
Unbeknownst to the responders, these parents are also volunteers who have been well informed of this drill since the planning stages.
We planned this drill extensively from the beginning with Sergeant Morella and his force. So we helped them lay out the scenarios, made sure that they were accurate to what the threat would be at this period of time in this area of the country.
There's a lot of logistics behind it. You know, it's not a small scale effort. It was a learning experience for us too. You know, obviously, even just on the planning end, there's a lot of planning, from the coordination of the volunteers to the coordination of the local law enforcement to the federal law enforcement, the state law enforcement, and getting everybody on board and up to speed as to what we're going to be doing and putting together, and then obviously all the planning behind it to get the event to come together.
Officer Morella approached me, laid down a blueprint of the school and said, we're thinking about this, there's a grant, and obviously I'm all for that. Anytime we can partner law enforcement, emergency medical services, and the school in a real drill, you got to take advantage of it.
There's no one person that puts an event like this together. It's multiple ends, and that's where having the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, Picatinny Arsenal, their behavioral specialists, everybody had a role to play in the actual planning of the event itself.
As the first responders make their way through the building, they pass students frantically running for safety.
Help me. One in the gym. There's one in the gym. I gotta come follow me. One in the gym. Please. Oh, God.
The time it takes the officers to isolate the threat is vital.
Shooter!
Their reactions in this position are what will be tested here today.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Behind the podium. Dan, come here, I got a jam.
Basically, the roles of everybody that was here, we had facilitators, wearing the orange shirts. They took care of the interior of the scene that was going on inside. We wanted to try and keep the amount of bodies going in the rooms down so that this way we were able to not confuse the officers going in, that there was too many targets in the room. We wanted them to fixate on what was going on in that room. And also we had facilitators outside that helped with the scene outside, making sure people's guns were taken off of them and no ammo was allowed across that one tape line that everybody saw outside. We had our media tent, which we instructed all the media to go to. We had an observation center over here, which we actually set up a monitor out there for them to observe on what was going on inside, along with the locating devices that were going on inside.
Every room where there was a situation was equipped with GoPro cameras, and Taser International brought their own cameras that were attached to eyeglasses for the perspective of the shooter as well as the responding police officers. And then we had sensors on all of the role players and the law enforcement officers, so we could track their location throughout the building. At any given time, we knew where they were and what they were doing. So we would combine the video with the tracking to really help as an analysis, an after-action tool to tell them how well they did.
This is the first time we've done this, and there's not a whole lot that's been done previously, but how long does it take the officers to find the bad guys? How long does it take them to determine they need to shoot at the bad guy? How long does it take them to take down a bad guy? How long does it take them to handcuff and then move on to the next bad guy?
In a critical incident situation, the end goal is always to save lives and to eliminate the threat. After hearing shots coming from within the library, the team enters and engages in a gunfight with the second shooter.
Anybody hit? Shoot her down! Shoot her down! Also, I got a chest wound on Officer Berkery also.
Meanwhile, another shootout happens in the gym.
Have you here? That's somebody in the gym. You see your hands? Everybody lay down on your stomachs! Lay down on your stomachs now! You're gonna lock her open! You're gonna lock her open, Dan! Right to your right! Dan, wait. Everybody stay down on your stomachs till you're told to do so otherwise. Do you understand me? Everybody stay down on your bellies.
The officers make their way to locate the third shooter as quickly as possible.
Primarily what we did for the first 45 minutes was basically setting everything up, getting everything in order. We then accepted all the kids and the teachers. From there, we took them into the auditorium, did a briefing, explained to them exactly what was going to go on that day. We handed out basically scripts and what people are going to be responsible for.
The first thing that we did when we showed up was that they brought us into makeup. So they gave us like our specific wounds they assigned us. So my specific role during the day was that I was out in the hallway. They poured sawdust all around me, which was supposed to represent the rest of the blood that I'd lost.
We started hand placing them on where we want people to be. We placed our shooters in their rooms. We placed our victims in the hallways where we wanted them. And then from there, we then sounded off that this is where we're going to start. They then made the phone calls to the police department, and the event started from there.
So that call was also made by a secretary who was in the office. We set up our scenario where we were meeting, myself, my assistant principal, and a secretary. We're meeting, and that's when the chaos started. I came out. They locked in the room and did their part. My assistant principal was the one that recognized the shooting, recognized what happened, and then made the all-call for lockdown for staff, telling them where the shooter was.
Once the officers arrive at the cafeteria, they come face to face with the third active shooter. The shooter threatens to shoot himself if the officers do not leave. Quickly, a shootout is initiated, and the officers are tested once again. The third shooter is taken into custody, and the officers move on to the next scenario.
You want to try to keep it as real as possible, but you got to make it as safe as possible because it still is just a training drill. So there's elements of it that you can't build into it to make it as real as you want it.
The weapons that were given out today were simunition weapons. Basically what they are is real live weapons that are actually made to expel paint rather than real bullets. They're regular bullets that are just made of like a waxy type of paint, so this way you could see it, and it moves at 400 feet per second, so it's a quick round, and it's basically the same as being hit by a bullet. The other things that were handed out were taser cameras. We tried to affix those to the people's heads, so this way we can get a good vantage point from what they saw, and also from what some of the followers saw, what the shooters saw, some of the victims. So we tried to cover it from every angle that we possibly could in that aspect of it. We've never come across anything this large that was done like this in our state, and I don't know of anybody in the nation that has done anything with the military on this end in a police fashion.
Working closely with Picatinny and Homeland Defense, nobody at the federal level is aware of anything done at this level of magnitude. So I think, we really stepped up to the plate and accomplished quite a bit here. I have tremendous respect for my federal, county, and municipal counterparts coming together and making this happen.
As one of the largest scale drills in an active shooter setting, no possible scenario is overlooked. As the officers respond to the shooting occurring inside the building, mock explosives are ignited outside.
Get the bomb squad up here. For the time being, everybody gets back. There might be more devices coming. Stay clear of the front of the building.
The bomb unit is challenged with the task of disarming another device before it detonates, preventing any further casualties.
The data that was collected today was basically done from the behavioral specialist end, from the Picatinny Arsenal. Everything from GPS tracking in the environment, which would have been the school. We'll be able to sit down and analyze that stuff and see where some of our strong points were and some of our weak points were, and build on that.
So we have radio transmitters. We place them on each of the police officers. We also place them on the shooters. We place them on the students. We place them on the teachers. And then we have sensors that are placed in each of the rooms. and through triangulation, the transmitters are picked up, and we can see where in the room those police officers might be, whether they're holding a formation, how they approached the shooters, and things like that.
I don't think you can prevent school shootings, but you can prepare for it. This is meant to test our department, our partnering departments, county, state, federal, also with our school personnel, seeing if they're responding in the proper way. And what it enables us to do is to actually see a whole bunch of things that we do right, and to see also some things that we've done wrong. What we're looking to do in situations like this is for our guys to have the best opportunity available to be able to deal with the situation at hand within the schools, whether it's to get them long guns, whether it's to get SWAT teams, whether it's to give them more training, and even on the school staff's end, to try and keep the kids safe as long as they possibly can, and to keep them out of harm's way.
What we hope to do with our military perspective is to train them, evaluate their performance, and see what did they do well, and maybe where did they have some problems, and help them develop what we call tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs. Help them develop TTPs that are appropriate to the given situation. And what we do, for instance, today is see how the officers came in, where were they looking, did they dwell on a victim, did they stop at a certain point, did they drop their weapon during the interaction with the shooters, did they say or act in a manner that maybe they should change.
The first responders are being tested at every level. It is common in critical incidents for active shooters to take hostages in order to negotiate demands. The fourth shooter has taken 2 teachers hostage inside a second-floor classroom. The response team has located the shooter in the room and attempts to defuse the situation. After a failed effort, negotiators enter the classroom to hear the shooter's demands.
Come back inside!
West Orange Police, listen! Listen! No one else has to get hurt! All right, let's go! What's going on?
Hey, what's going on here right now is I'm in control. I got these 2 guys here. I'm going to start killing them unless you give me what I need.
No, you know that's not going to happen. I'm not going to get stupid, and I know you don't want to either. You're a good person, Mark. You wouldn't have talked to me.
You don't know me.
Well, you wouldn't have talked to me if you weren't.
Sometimes not all negotiations end the way the officers hope.
I shot one. Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Drop the gun, Warren! You're going out! Come on, drop the gun! Drop it!
Unfortunately, one hostage was shot, but the officers are able to take down the shooter and release the other hostage.
Suspect down! Put suspect down!
I feel there's a need for a drill like this for the main reason is that we want to be as fully prepared as we possibly can.
I think it's important that we test the system. We test it to ensure that the response is as good as it can be. There's always going to be variables that you can't count on, and a wrench thrown into the mix. But that's why we respond the way we do. Children are our most precious resource, and parents entrust the school, the police, government. In a nutshell, they entrust government to stand in their presence while they don't and educate their children. But more important than education is their safety.
And it's good for the community too, because it helps them feel secure in the fact that they're police officers and law enforcement and medical personnel. They all know what they need to do in an emergency situation. And it really puts it in perspective how serious one of these situations can get. And when you add people and students specifically with wounds, you see, well, this could happen if you don't take this seriously.
You want to be able to give your guys the tools that they need in order to go into a school and handle a situation like this, and to see where we fall a little short so that we're able to correct that for future events.
Even though the shooters are eliminated, the drill is far from over. The first responders now enter a critical response period.
Lay down, huh?
They must follow protocol and have all victims properly triaged and taken to hospitals for further care.
One of the things that impacted me today was we scripted every scenario. I knew what was going to happen in every room. I knew the role players. I knew the response times of the law enforcement organizations. I watched the bomb squad outside. When I saw the victims being carried out with the fake wounds, and I saw the cops responding, and their adrenaline was high, I got captured in the moment. I almost felt like it was real. And if you could participate in this to get that feeling, it helps with your training and awareness.
I think they're going to learn a lot from what happened today. I think it was probably more realistic than they thought it would be. We're hoping to see, good things as well as bad. Getting police officers that don't normally work together, train differently, maybe even learn different tactics and techniques, thrown into the soup per se, and having to work together on the spur of a moment.
The critical thing with law enforcement, again, even when we do this in the military, we identify gaps. Maybe it is a piece of technology we introduce, maybe it is a change in tactics, and we train, we retrain to optimize their performance in these situations.
With the drill completed, all personnel begin to return to the initial checkpoint to retrieve their firearms. Volunteers step out of character and begin to process the events of the day. The media is briefed on the drill by the team that put it together.
Officers use during a situation like that, they've been trained on
the data that had been collected and captured will be reviewed at a later time to determine where the strengths lie and what needs improvement. This is by no means the end, but the beginning of a bigger project, a project of preparation.
You can never predict the future. Like I said, we can make the best plan and think it's the best thing in the world. You can always what if everything, but there's always going to be some sort of a snag no matter what type of plan that you have.
So it's good for people to know how to respond in this. There's procedures that are already out there, and these are what you're supposed to do in order to ensure that most people are safe and that the people who are responsible for preventing and ending situations like these are able to do their jobs without any hindrances at all.
The more that we're able to practice at these things, the better we're prepared when it actually comes down to it. Something that we might have overlooked or we didn't see, another agency across the country on the West Coast or wherever it might be, might run another drill and they might pick up on something that we didn't pick up on, and we all learn from that, and it just makes it to be a better, safer environment for our kids. It makes it a better, safer environment for our adults, because an active shooter scenario typically gets viewed as something that happens in a school, but it can happen anywhere. If you want to call it an epidemic, it's an epidemic across our country.
On August 20th, 2013, 4 shooters entered Liberty Middle School. What appeared to be the start of a typical school day was the start of a critical incident drill. A drill that will go down in history as an experience where local, state, and federal units work together to help prepare and train first responders in case they are faced with the horrible task of taking down an active shooter. The data collected from this practice drill will help prepare first responders across